As I said at the top of the show, we have a very special guest joining us in studio. She is the North Carolina Teacher of the Year for 2017, Lisa Godwin from Onslow County. I think shout out to Dixon Elementary School in Onslow.
Yeah, shout out to the Bulldogs.
All right, so we've had Teachers of the Year on our program before, but I want to remind our viewers first, congratulations.
Thank you.
But part of that role is you will be out of the classroom for a year.
I will.
Traveling across the state, talking to a lot of folks. So tell me what your focus for the upcoming year is going to be.
Well, you know, my message changes with each audience. You know, if I'm speaking to beginning teachers, I want to encourage and inspire. If I'm speaking to veteran teachers, I want to continue to ask them to rededicate themselves to the profession. To the stakeholders like community members, I'm encouraging them to invest in our students and in our schools. So the core message is always going to come back to the kids wherever I go. And I'm just having a really great time meeting different people and really getting the word out about what a wonderful job our teachers are doing across the state.
Right. Now, one of the other perks, but also really opportunities for the Teacher of the Year is you now have a seat on the State Board of Education.
I do.
And I guess it was about 2 weeks ago, there was a conversation about the state plan under the Every Student Succeeds Act, and there was a fair amount of discussion. You weren't the only one, but concerns about over-testing and that the plan continued to rely, well, not just on testing, but also school performance grades. So tell me a little bit more about why you spoke up on that issue.
Well, I've had the unique opportunity of seeing testing through many different lenses. Of course, I'm a product of public education myself, but back in the day, we had, I think, the CAT test was the only thing we really took. And then I'm a parent of students that went through public education. And I was a teacher, of course, but I was also an assistant principal, and I was a testing coordinator on my campus. So I've seen how it impacts all the different people, children, teachers, even parents. And I do feel like there's just too much time being spent on testing and not enough on instruction. So I think what the comment was quoted from that meeting was, you know, we need to grow the elephant, but we don't grow it by weighing it, we grow it by feeding it. And what we're concentrating on in the state right now is weighing it. Just an example of when I was the testing coordinator, I felt like I was doing so much testing that I actually sat down with a calendar and highlighted all the days that were spent with testing on my campus. And out of 180 days, there were 94 days spent with some sort of testing, and not just teacher-driven testing. This was all state, you know, field testing, WIDA testing, M-class testing, district quarterly testing, 94 days. Now, you know, we are getting, you know, a lot of comments that teachers aren't teaching our kids. Well, they're not being given the opportunity to teach.
Well, that's a good, yeah, well, I mean, look, it's no surprise that we've seen, we've seen a decline in students choosing to go into the teaching profession, going into our schools of education. That's one way we can measure it.
Right.
Do you think that the testing climate is one of the reasons that may be deterring teachers, or maybe forcing some that say, look, I want to do something else?
I think that it's the dialogue that they're hearing in the public. You know, the dialogue that public education is broken. You know, nobody wants to go into a field where they feel like it's broken. And when I go and visit these schools of education, I had an opportunity to go to Appalachian State University this past weekend and speak to their future teachers. And I told them, you know, public education is not broken. You know, there are some aspects that need to be strengthened, but don't let the chatter, don't let the noise of the media and of people in the public deter them from doing what their passion is. And I do feel like teaching is a calling, and we do need to make it a viable career choice for our upcoming teachers, and we want to make make sure that they see an end goal. And that means support through salaries, not just in the beginning years, but on through 10 years and more, on to 20, 25, and 30. We'd like to see them retiring in the state of North Carolina.
Right. Now, you mentioned when you said about weighing the elephant versus feeding it.
Yes.
Now, feeding the elephant, part of that is resources. You and I were chatting before we started. What's the supplies budget at Dixon Elementary School?
Well, I've heard this year there's no supply money being given to the teachers directly. In conversation yesterday with one of our representatives, I did hear, there is money allocated through the state for supplies. Like it's supposed to be, I think, $30 per child for the year, something to that effect. But by the time the money trickles down to the local districts, it's already underfunded. We're already underfunded.
Right.
And so it's one of those where they're having to prioritize. And I guess in the grand scheme of things like construction paper and glue sticks and just those things that you need to get a classroom up and running aren't really priority. But to a teacher, it is, because they're the ones that are going out and having to purchase those items, or parents having to go out and purchase the items.
Well, last question. What is the state of the teaching profession today? When you talk to teachers, where are we?
Well, again, we aren't in it, for the money or for the fame. We're in it for the children. I still see that passion, that purpose in each of those teachers that I visit, the campuses that I go to see. They love their kids, and they're gonna push through whatever is going on politically or financially. They're going to make it happen. But should we make them do that? I mean, no. We need to support them. We need to make sure that they realize that they're valuable and that their voices are being heard.
Right. I appreciate.
Oh,
I know we're already out of time. See how fast it goes.
It does go
Thank
fast.
you for what you do. Thank you for being a teacher, and thank you
you
for being a wonderful ambassador for our
Thank
North
you.
Carolina teachers. Thanks so much.
I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. When we come back, we're going to preview an upcoming NCAACP Education Forum with Terrence Ruth and Dudley Flood. But first, see if you can answer this question. The national average for per pupil spending in 2017 by states is $11,984. How much will North Carolina spend this year?